What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
You know me, Chris. It's Wednesday. I can't wait for shows of this caliber.
Man, because we got a whole lot to discuss before we even start. We always like to start off the show with the bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the World Wide Web. So hold on to your controllers because we got a lot to unpack. So popular streamer Shroud dropped a hot take recently claiming being a pro in esports is way harder than making it to the NBA. He argues that traditional sports, you've got to be born with the kind of physical gifts that make people think that you're secretly part cheetah, while esports, well, it's more about grinding like you're working a 9-to-5 job, except your boss, quote unquote, is constantly changing meta. No genetic advantage here, just pure adaptability, like trying to keep up with the game that makes updates more than your phone does. I think we can all relate to that.
Is it harder to be a pro in esports or a pro basketball player?
Well, that's not fair.
Why?
Because to be a pro basketball player, you got to be genetically built.
Yeah, let's just say you are.
Oh, then definitely pro in the game.
Harder, right?
I think so. Half of the game, half of a sport is just being built, for the sport.
Right.
So you have the
half of it's just half of it's spawn based.
Yeah, it's literally exactly. It's spawn based. You spawn in, and if you have the right builds, you can natty be good at it. But in a video game, you have to earn it every single time. And not only that, like in a video game, the meta's constantly changing. In a sport, it's just the same for fucking hundreds of years. Like, how boring.
It's like the same thing. It's like kind of like Counter-Strike in a sense. It's like put the ball in the hoop.
That's it.
Yeah. That's fair take.
Hear me out. He's got a point, and Shaq has also said this at one point, but the way he words this makes it seem like he's saying that if you're an athlete, you don't put in the time to practice, which they do. Come on, man. They do.
Yeah, it was crazy. I saw a screenshot the other day of Neymar, the famous soccer player, and he put like thousands of hours into CSGO too. He might not necessarily be an esports athlete, but I'm pretty sure that he can compete with the best of the best. Yeah, that is a very, very hot take. I don't know if everybody's going to vibe with that. Clearly, this comment with over 1,000 likes says, Shroud has never had a good take. What the F is this? So clearly not vibing with it. Then we get comments where Kenny says he is right because technically there are way more gamers than hoopers, so the chances of making it professional is harder. A lot of y'all didn't graduate high school, and it shows. Ooh, okay, dang, a little stab there.
All right, then.
Well, maybe Kenny didn't make varsity. And then his kid doesn't leave his house. His brain is fried. Yeah, it seems like he's trying to solo attack maybe one person, maybe Bronny James, or if it was the entire league. Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily vibe with it, but you kind of seeing where he's going with this?
And like I said, maybe a little bit of what he's saying is, truthful, but at the end of the day, the way he delivered that is what makes it not accurate, because it really makes it seem like it's just, I have the genetics to be an athlete, so I'm an athlete now.
Well, clearly I have,
man.
Well, I clearly have the genetics to be an esports athlete because clearly my body's looking ready for the keyboard warriors out there. Hey, but you know what? This was also going viral over the weekend. Aiden Ross and FaZe Banks are eyeing GTA 6 RP like it's their next big money-making scheme, promising to create the biggest server when the game drops, when we still don't have a release date. But their grand vision, a fully crypto-powered economy where players can actually make real money. Because who needs a job when you can rob virtual banks, right? So, of course, there's always going to be a tiny little hiccup, and that is Rockstar, who hates the idea of using cryptocurrencies in RP servers. But hey, that hasn't stopped them from sharing their totally legal plan with the world.
And part of creating a server is creating your own ecosystem that's tied to a newly made coin. Maybe in that event you do.
Well,
but right now, the way it is...
I'm going to tell this chat really quick how it is. When GTA 6 drops, me and Ricky are going to make the biggest server together. We're going to do the best shit ever, and I promise you, it's going to be completely crypto, everything pro-crypto about it. it's going to change the game because GTA 6, I promise you guys, they already bought FiveM. It's going to be ORP. I'll have the best, the biggest server. I promise you I will. And we're going to put a lot of money into it.
And guys, that's where you guys.
I promise all of you. I swear to this is my passion. We started SSB World. You found me from GTA. I'm making it very clear to everybody right now. You're gonna.
I don't know about that one, guys. Maybe you shouldn't fall for this.
Yeah, it's like all the meme coins that are going viral over the last week, or even what they're now referring to as shitcoin. And then you got the Hawk Tua girl and all the the rug pull stuff that she did.
Yep.
Are we really gonna go forward and follow along with these two knuckleheads? I'm sorry. Sometimes it's better to just leave things to the streaming and not on the streets. So, first comment got here is fake gamers looking to make a buck while having no idea what they're talking about. Disgusting. Is that a bit disgusting? I mean, some people have kind of clowned Mr. Beast, even for his own show, Beast Games, for having those QR codes to try to get kids to, submit for a chance to win money. And some people feel like that's not appropriate. But then, trying to implement, cryptocurrency into a entire global base through a video game, would that really work? But then Zacko Man Gaming says, can't be worse than Tua. So maybe, some people feel like it's a bit promising. Playing your favorite game while winning supposedly quote unquote money.
It really can't go as low as the Hawk Tua coin did. So that is a good point.
Bad. Yeah, and the ironic part was she was on. She brought FaZe Banks on her own podcast.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
I hope no one falls for this. Yeah, but you know what? That's the unfortunate part. You're gonna get some young kid or young adolescent that's gonna definitely feel like they're on the hype train to something. The crypto space, I still have no clue. And then these guys know. Right. And then you got people that say these guys know absolutely nothing about GTA 6, man. So very ambitious goals, but you know what? That's not going to stop people from getting very, very creative. We have seen, GTA Online role-playing be very immersive over the years. Crypto, just don't see it quite necessarily working out. But then again, we've thought we've seen it all, gamers, but Twitch streamer at @edbot_TTV has officially pulled out the world's first boxing dummy Elden Ring run. Yes, I thought we've kind of topped, it all, but by slapping conductive tape on a Playtron MIDI controller and using a horseshoe-shaped piece of cardboard for movement, basically, she's turning Elden Ring into a bizarre mix of fitness challenge and a mad scientist experiment. So it only took her 15 days and 1,428 deaths to finish, proving once again that Elden Ring doesn't just break your spirit, it shatters it with style.
Oh my god! Did it.
That is still better gameplay than a lot of people who played that game.
No, I feel like it's for real. I mean, if you see the chat box that's just flying in the top right side as she's streaming live in the moment, you can clearly see she's got a devoted fan base that's been hoping that she can make this happen. I mean, kudos to her. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, people get so creative nowadays. Now, could you imagine when people are trying to co-op stream with the new Elden Ring Night Rain? That's $40. And by the way, 2 weeks ago, people were clowning me for my pause and repeat tag for Metaphor,
Chris,
because I said a certain studio doesn't always have to have their new games always be at a $70 flagship. And then what do you know? You get a studio like this that comes in and says, hey, we're going to deliver this beautiful game to you guys late May for $40. That's a win for a lot of us gamers. I love it. But let's jump right on to the comments, because considering the weird way people beat this game just makes me think that Souls-likes are actually the easiest games out there. Basically a rhythm game, except you're not given the notes. Once you get the notes, it's easy. What do you think about that?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see what you're saying there, Wash Gamer. I mean, classic quote of one of my coworkers is that Sekiro, which is a Souls-like, a lot of people think it's one of the harder ones, but he says, well, it's actually just a rhythm game. You just got to learn how to block and what the timing is.
See, how insulting would that be if you're a musician and then there's someone's like, do you play Elden Ring? No, I haven't. And they're like, oh, sorry, next, you're out of the band. You don't know how to keep in rhythm. But I ain't buying it. So I'm the real Dirty Dan is not vibing with this gameplay. But then you also get people that say the fact that people don't believe this is the real shows how many never played in the OG days of Dark Souls. This is impressive work, and I got to give kudos to that person. That is so freaking awesome. But we want to thank you, the gamers out there, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, this show would not be possible. And if you guys have not liked, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? We stream live weekly. That is on Meta. That is on YouTube. That is on Twitch. So go ahead, check us out, fam.
Yeah, and see that QR code there? Go ahead and give that one a scan as well. It goes straight to my YouTube channel, where there's tons of awesome content just waiting to be watched of all different genres. So go check it out and drop a comment.
That's right, and this is only the beginning of a jam-packed show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh yeah, it's time to talk about a game. So let's get to it.
Let's get it, baby.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Rift of the Necrodancer. This is a spin-off title in the same universe as 2015's Crypt of the Necrodancer. Just like its roguelike predecessor, this is another rhythm game that aims to capture the hearts of gamers through clever design and engaging gameplay. So were they successful? Let's strum into the gameplay and see if they got some sick riffs. The gameplay of Rift of the Necrodancer is mostly a Guitar Hero lookalike at the forefront, but there are other modes as well. In Rhythm Rift mode, enemies will go down the screen and you will have to time your inputs properly to attack them on the beat. Each enemy behaves differently based on their type, which ranges from slimes to skeletons to bats, but also their color and shadow. Some enemies will require more than one hit, and some will even move around in an attempt to trip you up. Outside of this mode, there are also mini-games and boss fights, both of which will still require you to input correct actions on the beat. The game also lets you create custom stages, and you can share them through Steam Workshop, which is really what will allow this game to have lots of replay value. Now, how about the story? The story follows the same protagonist as Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence. She's been dragged into an unusual world, the real world. However, she quickly finds that many of the companions and enemies from her world have also been dragged here by the Rift. Together with her compatriots, they must unravel the mystery of the Rift and find a way back home. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
In 2025, in the absence of big major rhythm game players like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, we have games like this. But here's the question. Is it worth your money? What do you think about this game, Chris?
Yeah, the Necrodancer is back, and this time it's bringing on a full-on rhythm-fueled monster mosh pit in the Rift of the Necrodancer. Cadence has somehow been dragged into yet another musical nightmare where the only way out is to throw hands on beat, of course, except the pulse-pounding rhythm riffs, ridiculously over-the-top boss fights and minigames, so quirky they might as well have a side quest and some kind of psychedelic fever dream, all set to killer soundtracks with over 30-plus tracks ready to keep you grooving and probably sweating to the beat. What do you say, HenricK?
Well, that's actually a good point you brought up about the soundtrack, because this soundtrack is a banger.
It really is.
And it's very important with a game like this. Yeah, exactly. It has to be. Because the gameplay is going to be dictated by how good the soundtrack is.
Yes.
So if you have a bad soundtrack, the gameplay is not going to feel that satisfying. But with this great of a soundtrack, you're looking at great gameplay to follow along with that.
Yeah, and if you're not vibing with it, you have either a bad taste of music.
Yeah, and I couldn't help myself that, as I was playing, I was either bobbing my head or you tapping my foot or both at the same time, because it's just that kind of game that makes you want to do that. Not even just to keep time with the game, but you're really actually just enjoying what's going on.
Oh, absolutely, HenricK. I mean, imagine Dance Dance Revolution and Guitar Hero had a love child, but then the Crypt of the Necrodancer showed up, like that cool uncle like Rick and Morty with a bunch of deadly rhythm-based surprises. I mean, you're going to get traps that mess with how the enemies move, monsters that charge straight at you, and mechanics so intense you'll wonder if you should be playing this with the dance pad. I mean, I feel like there's endless possibilities to this game. I mean, just to make the experience even more unhinged.
Yeah, and the possibilities really are endless when you consider the fact that there's the tie-in with the Steam Workshop where you can make custom tracks for people and then share that to the entire community, and they can do that for you as well. So you're not limited to just the soundtrack that the game comes with.
I know, isn't that
you
so
want to
cool?
make something that, you know, hasn't been made yet, or if someone makes something for a song that you like, there you go.
Yeah, it's very like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. You know, you get to be able to make your own custom arena. You get to be able to do that as well here in this video game. I feel like there's a lot of really cool attributes that are implemented into this video game. You're going to get on top of the Rift, you know, red harpies. They zoom in at you like they just realized they left the oven on. And then you get these black skeletons that take 2 hits and then jog back up the Rift like they're late to work. So, you know, there's cool elements that kind of give you that Guitar Hero vibe, you know, especially the quote unquote vibe power. It's a special ability that makes cannons visible after landing a long enough combo streak, because nothing screams power move like styling on a horde of monsters with perfect rhythm.
Now, I have a question for you, Chris.
Yes.
Did you play Crypt of the Necrodancer, the original game?
I did not, and I feel like this game is so much fun that it makes you want to go back and visit the original IP, because there's a lot of replayability with this video game.
Yeah, no, definitely. This one has replayability, and so does the original in this series. The Crypt of the Necrodancer, that's a roguelike, and I really enjoyed that game when it came out back in 2015. So seeing them dive back into this universe was just like, okay, I gotta be on top of this, because that original game being so good, they have to do this even better. And, you know, it's not the exact same genre, but this game really does want to bring me back in and keep playing it over and over. And even if it means playing the same track over and over again, because I can just bump up the difficulty. And if I'm having trouble with a certain difficulty, I'm going to jump right back in. And eventually,
would you find yourself jumping
I
into
will learn it.
Did you jump right into impossible, or did you just kind of keep it on? You're like, nah,
I'm
I couldn't
not that much. You know, I know what you're going to say. I'm not that much of a rhythm game person to be able to do that.
Yeah, sounds like a skill issue. Sounds like a skill issue.
But,
you know, I think that's the one thing that humbles you about this
what?
video game. Because before you even start the game, you got the video and audio calibration settings to really make sure that you're button mashing to, you know, to the beat of the pulse. And so, like, if you can't figure it out, then what is it, HenricK?
Yes, exactly.
Sounds like a skill issue. But, you know, I gotta say, these boss battles, they slap. I mean, each one is well animated that it's honestly distracting. I mean, you're gonna be dodging these purple rings to avoid damage while waiting for those sweet gold rings to punch back at those badass bosses, all while bobbing to the beat like you're in the world's deadliest dance-off. And if that's not enough, I truly believe there's a ton of replayability in this video game. There's high score chasing. There are B-side tracks, like HenricK mentioned, where, you know, they're fan favorite created tracks that are created on top of the Rift. That is really, really cool. There are some very odd, laid-back mini games like yoga sessions, or let's even say going to SpongeBob SquarePants Krusty Krabs and making sandwiches with your buddy as a side hustle job. But then we also got people like Zackoman Gaming that's saying, I'm curious about it, but not sure how repetitive it looks. Well, you know, this is really for the people that are looking for that arcade-style chaos that'll keep you saying, just one more run until you realize it's 3 a.m. Zackoman Gaming.
And on top of that, even if you eventually get tired of all the songs that it comes with, like we mentioned, you're not limited to just those songs. So you can go make your own track and then try to play that, or see if someone has made a track for a song that you really like. And that is part of why it has such great replayability. That's actually on top of just the replayability of having to learn the higher difficulties, which that is a challenge. Don't get me wrong.
I feel like most people kind of jump in hitting normal at first, and then you play like a few levels in, and then you're going, I totally regret taking it this easy. I need to up the antics. Because I'm telling you right now, Rift of the Necrodancer is fresh, funky, and absolutely a repeat for me. So brace yourself. Games has once again proven how they can just blend these wild mechanics into something that just works, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Definitely, it's a repeat for me as well. You got to keep your eye on this. It's also not very expensive, so why not?
Yeah, it's so true. But we want to hear from you, the gamers. Is this on your radar list? Have you not even heard about this game? Well, we want to hear from you, the gamers. And is it a pause to play something else, or is it a repeat for just endless fun? Let us know. What's good? But man, we got so much more here left on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll?
Hell yeah. And it's time to talk about some games. So let's get talking to them.
Let's go. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it.
Hey, Chris, did you play any good games this weekend?
Well, if you're on the PlayStation 5, the answer is probably a resounding no. I know where you're going with this, HenricK, because Sony decided to roleplay as a brick wall for nearly 24 hours. So Sony did toss out some compensation for PSN subscribers, but some players think it's about as satisfying as getting a single health potion after a boss fight that wipes out your entire party. And more importantly, this outage was a not so friendly reminder that digital game ownership is basically just renting with extra steps. So the trouble started around 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday, February 7th, when PSN began crumbling like a Jenga tower built on a vibrating table. At first, players noticed friends list and online features disappearing, but then plot twist, even single-player games stopped working. And you might be asking yourself, why was that the case if you weren't on a PlayStation console? Well, because PSN servers have to verify you actually own the games already sitting on your console. So turns out, without PSN's blessing, your digital library is about as useful as a disc case with no disc inside. So gamers had some thoughts about it, and boy, oh boy, I cannot wait to dive in. We had a lot of very unsatisfied people over the weekend. So let's get into the first one. The paradox of modern gaming. You need the internet to play alone. What is completely horrible about this is one day PSN for PS5 will close, and your game is now a paperweight. I could still play my N64 games 25 years later. In 2050, most of the PlayStation 5 lineup will not be playable. Wow. Yeah, I mean,
you're telling me that these guys were not happy with having to go out and get a Krispy Kreme donut? Because they did offer that as compensation, guys.
Oh my gosh.
They said, you know what? We know that our servers are down, but here's a donut for you. You just go into a Krispy Kreme, you'll get one.
Yeah, that was pretty
come
crazy.
In a certain time. If you don't come in these 2 hours, you're not getting one.
Hey, way to take advantage of the marketing ploy. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? I mean, you were really hurting if you had a digital edition of the console. But myself, who had a disc, I was still ready to rock and roll. But then, you want to go and play, let's say, PGA, 2K23, for example, and you just want to play a multiplayer match and upgrade your outfits. You're like, wait, I need internet for that too? I didn't know that until the PSN went down. So yeah, it's just crazy how everything is so tied to a live service mechanic. And then you get comments like this that say, I still remember getting someone to send me the first Hitman game while I was in Afghanistan and being able to save my progression because I didn't have access to the internet. Edit, not the first Hitman game, the first in the reboot trilogy that came out in 2016, My bad. But then we got a follow-up comment that says, it's a very frustrating mechanic. Not only because it's a game I'd like to be playing on my PS5 now, but because the only reason it has to be online is for the ranking leaderboards that only about 0.5% of the players care about, and most of that 0.5% are hackers or Elon Musk. Oh, wait, I added that last part. But, yeah, I mean, it's really true. I mean, people want to compete on that top of that leaderboard, but you would think that they would find a way to be able to still play the games if they're downloaded to your console.
Yeah, that is the argument a lot of people have against digital gaming libraries, because if the service goes down, like we see here, I buy a gaming library, you don't have access anymore.
But it's like it's no different than like the Amazons and the Netflixes of the world. It reminds me of the Jake Paul and the Mike Tyson fight. And everybody's getting all pissed off that they had to keep buffering, Netflix. Yeah. So these kind of things are going to happen. But we get people like this that say the vets among us remember 2011. Yeah, that was not
with the Lizard Squad.
Well, remember that was the time where, PlayStation did get hacked then. That was where personal data got leaked, your credit card information, and some people feel like possibly the same thing happened here, although Sony is claiming it was just an operational issue, even though they didn't really satisfy and tell people like the day of what the hell was going on. But then you get follow-up comments like this that say, some of us lucked out that year. Great single-player games launched a couple months before that, such as Dead Space 2, Dragon Age 2, and Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas alone kept me occupied that month. I mean, look at that stellar lineup back in 2011. Could you imagine just being completely locked out from playing those games? That would be maddening. But then we get comments as well that say, not that it's surprising, but it's absolutely obscene that gaming is in a state where we can't even play our offline games when PSN is down because it can't quote-unquote verify our license, as if I somehow deleted the game I previously had a license for the last time you checked and replaced it with a pirated copy. F off, Sony. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but then it does feel like, certain game studios can implement an offline mode. We did discover this with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
True.
So, why aren't they doing that, moving forward? I guess that's where I'm a little puzzled and don't really have an answer for it.
Well, they want to tie you into the online service so that you're tempted to spend money on the microtransactions if they have them.
Yeah.
And also just so they can keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah, fair enough. But then you get games like Elden Ring Night Rain, and they're claiming that there's going to be 0 microtransactions, a DLC that will come in the future. You got to always be online, but they're going to be offering, a solo mode as well. And hopefully they don't have to fall into this, predicament that we all had. Well, us PlayStation fans had to suffer through over the weekend, but can't even play free online games? No shit. And the last comment here is another viewpoint on how ridiculous this is. I can't even use my portal to play an offline game. That's ridiculous. Why does it need to be authenticated my PSN login to work? It's just using my local network and the PS5 to stream the game. I didn't realize it was dependent on the internet. Eventually, this thing will be completely useless when they no longer support it. What a waste. Yeah, that's kind of one of those things that you're kind of surprised didn't really jump in front of the headlines. But HenricK, will this outage make video game studios think twice about going all in on live service games, or will Sony double down on securing a global cloud gaming infrastructure to prevent this kind of digital disaster in the future?
It's actually funny you bring up cloud gaming, because when this article, or this whole fiasco, we'll say, not even one article, happened, my first thought is, this is exactly why we need to upgrade our infrastructure nationwide and even worldwide before we even think of making cloud gaming the standard and end-all be-all, and no longer can you play on a hardware that you buy from the manufacturer, whether it be Sony or Xbox or whoever, because things like this are going to happen otherwise. And if our infrastructure is not set up to have redundancy, where if it goes down somewhere, some other servers will take up the load from what's down, then you're going to have upset customers who don't want to have a donut. They just want to play. They don't want to go outside and play outside and touch some grass. No, I want to play Fortnite, man. Come on.
Well, think about this newer generation. You know, they are not in tune with just carrying paper money. They are not in tune to actually go to the store to go and shop for clothing. They have online stores like Amazon where you can sit at the comfort of your home and be able to bring the delivered goods within a single or 2 day delivery. So like I understand that this is the future that we're going in. I feel like this is just one little hiccup in the, you know, in Sony's push, you know, for cloud gaming. But I do got to say, you know, this definitely reminds me a lot of the review bombing campaigns that were often, you know, motivated by these half-baked culture wars, you know, these quote-unquote controversies about trans characters, queer developers, or supposed mafias of liberal writing consultants bending to, you know, the multi-million-dollar companies to their will. Well, does anyone remember that, like, last May, we saw this when it came with Helldivers 2, where people were just so freaking pissed off that there was a PlayStation Network sign-in requirement? I mean, could you imagine if they still pushed forward with this? I mean, it would have just been us PS5.
Buy Helldivers 2. You can't play that now.
You can't play it as well because Sony would have to make sure that you're even licensed to be able to play their game. And so as compensation for the downtime, you know, Sony is offering 5 days of PS Plus to current subscribers, a deal that has gotten largely negative response from players because some are saying that the 5 days isn't enough. But the larger issue is that only applies to the current PS Plus subscribers. So if you weren't subscribed in the first place, there are no benefits for you. You just had to suffer like the rest of us. And so to make matters worse, Sony spent the entire day's outage not communicating with players about what the hell was going on. And even after the fact, it isn't saying what caused the problem. I think that is what is truly befuddling in a sense, you know, HenricK, because, you know, PSN's claiming that they kind of suffered from an operational issue. Are you buying that, considering how they had the infamous weeks-long PSN outage in 2011?
It is maybe gonna come out pretty soon if that is the case. They can't hide that forever because by law, they would have to let everyone know, hey, your data was compromised. So if they, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt that for now it was just an operational issue, but I might change in a couple days if there is some sort of other malicious intent that was behind the outage. But we'll have to see on that.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to figure it out because, you know, this newer generation is so in tune with booting up your console and buying games directly from the PSN store or any other digital storefront. So it's quicker, it's easier than heading to the store to buy games or even having them shipped to you. And they even often run promotions that make digital games cheaper to purchase than their physical counterparts. So again, you know, this digital approach also means you don't have to worry about losing or damaging your game. But then again, if the server goes out, shit out of luck, right? So, you know, what do you say about this? I mean, do you feel as though you, the gamers out there, do you feel like, you know, Sony's going to be pushing forward to try and enhance, you know, their cloud gaming on a global front? Or will they just have to kind of take things a little step back and, you know, just kind of, you know, take it for what you will? What do you say, what do you say, gamers? Let us know what's good.
And moving on to talking about Riot Games. Well, Riot Games just dropped a video explaining why they yeeted Hex Tech chests out of League of Legends, and their reasoning? Yeah, this wasn't going to work long term. After sparking outrage by pulling the plug on those beloved loot boxes, Riot decided to break the silence and let players know why their freebie treasure hunt is no more. So what's next for League of Legends? A bold new future or just more ways to make you spend RP? Let's take a look.
As a free-to-play game, skins are the primary way League pays its bills. They're what give us the ability to continue to develop the game and wider ecosystem, from adding new game modes to updates to Summoner's Rift, cinematics, live events like Worlds, patch-to-patch balance, and much longer-term investments in League for the future. Our cost to maintain and develop League has also been pretty stable over time too, ensuring we have an equally sustainable income coming in to reinvest in the game. However, has been frankly more of a recent challenge.
And that's where free Hextech chests come in. When we initially added them, we wanted to offer additional reward for time spent, using something we knew many of you really cared about earning: skins. And for a while, we think that worked well for both players and the business side of League. Over time, though, free chests unintentionally became the primary way to unlock skins, and an increasing number of players ended up with substantial skin collections for free. This meant that purchasing skins directly didn't make sense anymore to a lot of players, because they were happy just waiting to get something eventually. That did lead to a great player experience, but it was not sustainable for League in the long term.
Increasing the number of skins we could make each year was good for both the business and the player experience, but eventually we ran into meaningful diminishing returns.
Isn't it ironic that the week that League of Legends takes out the option of being able to earn skins for free, well, free if you consider your time free.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The same week they do that, Overwatch 2 decides, you know what, we're going to throw back in loot boxes so you can earn your skins if you want to play long enough.
Yeah, I mean, we'll we'll definitely be exploring that conversation as well, because that is very funny with the whole irony with that as well, right? You know, because League of Legends has been around since 2009, meaning it's about as old enough to have watched its player base go from middle school rage quitters to fully grown adults still rage quitting, right, HenricK?
Yeah, and sure, it's free to play, but let's be real, guys. It also happily drains wallets faster than a gacha game addiction, letting players buy skins, champions, and probably their last shred of self-control because of all that FOMO, right?
That
exactly. Didn't stop League fans from absolutely losing it over this latest change. So here's what they had to say with the following comments.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive right on in, because the first comment that we got here is, chests aren't a sustainable solution for the long term. And then we got the track record from 2013 all the way to 2023. And wow, just last year or 2 years ago, you guys made $1.5 billion. But considering how we give away free skins every once in a blue moon, yeah, that's not a sustainable model for us in the future of gaming. Well, then you get comments that say, when you lose your goodwill with players, it's tough to get them back. Riot will learn the hard way. And a follow-up comment that says, companies get so greedy, they forget that their money comes from quote-unquote players. Once the players lose trust and turn against you, it's over. I've literally seen people advocate to make new accounts and just run down new players' games. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Why be that guy?
Just stop playing the game, man.
Right. And then
it's not that big a deal.
Then you get comments like this that say, don't piss me off. Tech chests are not being quote unquote sustainable for the game. You are an effing $1 billion company who laid off hundreds of your employees last year and are force feeding us $250 gacha slop, but tech chests are hurting you? Just be honest that it's greed. Well, you know, they did produce a almost 15-minute video trying to explain to us what the hell's going on behind the scenes. And then you get Arcane convinced many people to create League of Legends accounts, but most didn't end up sticking around. Ooh, maybe they put a lot of their hard-earned money into Arcane and was hoping for a larger player base return. And clearly
what's so crazy about that is they even said, yeah, you know, we spent so much money on Arcane, but we know it's not going to be what makes people come back. We made this for the people that are playing the game already, more than anything else.
Crazy. And then Marvel of Legends is coming soon, y'all. And man, whoever makes a move to compete with League of Legends is going to grab a whole bunch of refugees right now. And that's what you were suggesting with Overwatch 2. You know, they had to, you know, really strap in and figure out what the hell is going on, since considering that, you know, Marvel Rivals stepped into their place and said, you know, kick rocks. We don't plan on seeing you anytime soon. And so now they're trying to create this whole CSGO and third person mode so you can actually see the skins that you paid for, because I guess that's what gamers wanted after all. And then you get comments like this. This is to end this or wrap things up. I've been a die-hard League player for the past 13 years, but over the course of the past 6 months, I haven't wanted to touch it with the 10-foot pole. Taking away aspects of the player's experience, such as rewards for playing, just feels bad. Given current direction, I don't think I will be returning to the game. I just don't see any reason to anymore. It hasn't been fun to play. I don't get any rewards for playing the game. The quality of the skins I bought for my favorite characters have drastically gone down. Cough, cough, Mythmaker Yin. And then compared to other games, League has lost a lot of what made it stand out to me. Yeah, you know, that's definitely a very, very valid point indeed. So HenricK, with HeckTech chest gone, players who relied on them for free skins are now looking at their sad, empty loot tabs like a broke college student checking their bank account. But Riot insists that this doesn't mean things are going completely back to the pre-chest days. So what's the plan here? I mean, will this new approach actually be sustainable, or are we about to witness a League of Legends exodus on par with Overwatch players bailing for Marvel Rivals?
I don't see there being a mass exodus just yet. I mean, League is one of those games that it's been around for so long that if you have played it for several years, you're probably going to stick around even after this. Maybe you'll take a little bit of a break, but you'll probably come back. It's one of those games that doesn't have a replacement. That's the whole problem.
But don't you think you can make the argument, though, that League of Legends became a popular Dota clone, quickly becoming one of the best MOBA games in the industry? So, like, if someone could come in and clone something else with a lot larger lineup, like Marvel, or let's say DC, let's say it doesn't have to be Marvel, maybe DC jumps on the opportunity. Don't you think that people are going to eventually move in, or is this, new Captain America really going to tank the whole IP? Because you're Rotten Tomatoes saying it's not doing well, with the leaders. But then again, when the fan votes come in, it's always swayed completely differently.
Yeah, it's one of those things they'd have to come in and deliver on a game that can be up to par with League of Legends, which is very hard when you consider how many different characters or champs there are in League of Legends. To have to come out with a game that would really rival League of Legends would mean having to come out with something with a very, very large roster of characters that you could play as. So it's not always going to be very sustainable for a company to do that, right? It's going to be hard to find a replacement. But at the same time, if they do things like this, it's just anti-consumer at the end of the day. And the community is clearly speaking about how they're not having a good thought process behind this, because they're going to be making money regardless of whether they have this in there or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we do have a listener on, Game with Tucker, is saying League is the best game ever to be made. Ever. I mean, that's a very, very strong stance that we got here right now. I mean, I'm wondering if, people like Tucker are still going to be involved with this IP moving forward, because the developers also commented that free chests have become the primary way for players to obtain League of Legends skins, and most players stop buying them, jeopardizing one of the only ways the game has to profit and leading to quote unquote meaningful diminishing return. So the same understanding can be applied, to the influx of remastered single player games, I would argue. Some people are going after, the rising cost, to produce and create new single player games in current times. And so sometimes they might have to cut back on gameplay mechanics that they thought they worked. And so, as much as it's not favorited, like myself, I'm kind of sick and tired of seeing a lot of these remastered. I mean, yeah, I was celebrating Days Gone, I feel like 2 months ago. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, come in April, join us on the PS5 and PS5 Pro. We're going to do this thing all over again. It's like, really? Why are we doing this? And so, that's kind of been the insider report, is that, to hold on and retain these live service games, it takes in so much money to really make these powerhouse even flow. And that's even coming along even with your single player games, which, we have expressed over the years and highlighted on the show that, some of our favorite video games, cost $200 to $300 million to create. So they have to find cute and creative ways to kind of keep their own studio afloat, even though it might not, help to retain the player base in the end.
Yeah, we'll really have to see, because it's going to be a matter of time if they keep making decisions like this, that people will just give up. But it's going to take a lot still, even beyond this, because like the comment is saying here from Tucker, a lot of people just play the game because they really enjoy the gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
That's really what draws people into a game is the gameplay more than anything else.
But then wait until a clone comes in and it's DC with Batman and Robin and that whole entourage of the Kill the Justice League, and you're going, I do like the gameplay. The skins never mattered until your favorite superheroes join along for the party. But what do you have to say? Is this stopped you from even wanting to continue to play League of Legends, or do you think this is a smart move from the studio and the publishers and developers to really retain the player base in the end? Let us know what's good. But let's go ahead and talk about this, because if you, like most humans on this planet, are a frequent mobile gamer, you know the soul-crushing misery of in-game ads all too well. And so the freemium model has made it the norm, as we were just discussing, which basically means you pay by watching ads that include fake countdown timers, X buttons that lead you on a wild goose chase, and faux interactivity designed to lure you into the store like a kid in a candy shop. Except the candy is malware. So Valve is setting the bar high with the bold move. Anything remotely resembling this on their PC store is an instant ban. So, fingers crossed, that this ban will hit the right games, the ones that spam you with so many links you accidentally end up on a website you definitely didn't mean to visit. So if only Google's Play Store would follow suit, right? I feel like we can dream a little bit. Then us gamers, oh man, we can definitely be living the good life. But, this didn't stop gamers from commenting on Valve's stance on in-game ads in video games with the following. So the first comment is, continually proving why Steam is the most popular launcher. Valve is so pro-consumer. It's actually hard to believe at times.
And what's real funny about it is they are pro-consumer, but they make so much money. Crazy how that works, right?
I know, exactly, right? And then we get, how much do you spend on marketing? This is Ubisoft and EA, and they go hundreds of millions. Oh, me too. And people still hate you? Yeah. Oh, me too. And then you get Valve over here that says, smell my finger. Let's have it go! Literally everyone. And then they aren't beholden to investors, so only care about the long-term health and viability of the PC gaming ecosystem. Yeah, I think that's a bit fair, but then, as I have kind of commented during Season 8, I wouldn't be surprised if Valve finds a new partner to expand their cloud gaming. So will people hold this same energy for Valve in the future? We will have to wait and see. But then, we get comments that say, wish more companies followed Valve's philosophy. They're one of the most profitable companies per employee. Two, which is another slap in the face to these huge corporations. They're clearly quality over quantity. Yeah, fair enough.
That's why they can't count to 3, guys.
And then someone says the gist, don't bring that garbage ad experience from mobile games here. And last, people have no idea what effed up gaming world it would be without Steam. They always have gamers back, from free speech to refunds, now ads. Long live Steam. I think that's kind of funny that he's talking about from free speech, because I've also seen commentary where people are like, hey, you gotta take down those woke moderators. I want to be able to express what I feel about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And we're not gonna go there. But, if anybody knows what's going on, you get the gist. But HenricK, isn't it wild that this wasn't already a blazing dumpster fire that needed urgent attention, but instead we're over here acting like it's just a tiny spark that can be put out with just a casual rule update? Because just to be clear, gamers, this was already a rule. So just now it's getting the spotlight it always deserved, like a hidden track on an album that nobody knew existed until the remaster.
Yeah, and this is really so funny that it's gotten so much attention now, because not too long ago, some big publishers, EA, Ubisoft, they were thinking, what about the idea if we had people watch an ad and then they can play the game? No, guys.
NBA 2K21.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And, maybe this is why they want to put those games on their own launchers and not on Steam.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really, really good point. I mean, just to kind of really clarify, they updated their stance that says, we we got to make sure that you guys are not selling any game that relies on in-game advertising for its business model. That means no games can require players to watch ads to be able to play, nor hide any elements of a game behind a commercial. We all love that. I hate that kind of shit, or especially when it's like, hey, the use of, viewing ads to gain an in-game advantage, reward, or time. Yeah. They're like, none of that shit flies here on Steam. So the company suggests switching to an upfront payment or keeping the game free by keeping upgrades as paid DLC. I think that is very, very clear, and I wish a lot more, businesses or even streaming services would follow that practice, but, clearly money talks. But Valve makes clear companies can still advertise in games, like those awkward billboards or real world brand cosmetics are still fine to include, although Steam does stipulate that these things must not be disruptive or just be appropriate within the context of the game. So I wonder what that means for Death Stranding 2. Will we see more Monster Energy cans?
I mean, there's probably like a differentiation there of,
I know.
What is an ad and what's product placement, but it's so crazy that ads make these companies so much money, so they want to just funnel them in front of people, even if they're paying customers. I mean, just recently, the streaming services raised their prices and also made it so that there's a bunch of tiers that you pay, and you're paying, but you're still watching ads.
Yeah. I know it's
like,
scummy. It's such
wild.
It's a
imagine you're paying for a game and the game still throws ads at you. That would be a wild thing to see.
Well, that's the thing that people were so frustrated about with 2K. You're filling the basketball games with unskippable ads and so on. And so it's like these are those, gross behavior that we've seen from the biggest names that Steam is clearly trying to make a stance on. What they're not stopping is ads on your favorite video, your vehicles, on your favorite racing car games. I mean, clearly that would you got to bring in the real world into it. You might see like an ad when or a billboard driving by that might resemble a Mickey D's, whatever. That's not going away. But I wonder if they will ever start to crack down on what we've explored in the past, where Barack Obama used The Crew to put political ads in the video game. And I wonder, from my understanding, from reading Valve's new stance, they're not quite stopping that push, but they just basically saying, listen, look, like, we do not want that mobile like games to come into our PC gaming world, and we don't want people to feel like they have to click X to continue to play the game or to reach a reward to be able to get that advantage in your own game. Kick rocks and go somewhere else. And so if you guys are vibing with Valve stance, let us know what's good, or if you feel like Steam isn't doing enough, we want to hear from you, the gamers.
And here we are again, diving into another Reddit thread where a gamer asks the question, what's one thing you've always done in video games since you were a kid?
And I think the key word is
that thing.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think, for the gamers that are playing along with us, key words are since you were a kid, not what you just started now, since you were a kid.
Yes. And spoiler alert, the answers are basically a mix of nostalgia, bad habits, and things that might just get you kicked out of multiplayer lobbies. So let's see what the gaming community had to say.
Yeah, let's jump right on into it. So the first comment that we got here is shooting your friend to see if the game has friendly fire, and then executing said friend with friendly fire at the worst possible moment. I am a great teammate. Yeah, I think we've all done that.
Hey, even is there friendly fire? Yeah, you just killed me.
Well, even if it's not your friend that's playing with you, it could be the NPC that's on your team. I'm thinking about Halo, Combat Involved. I mean, we've all done it. We've all done it where we want the team to turn on us.
You kill too many of the NPCs, and then you just get they all turn on you, and you just die because they kill you.
It's awesome. That was like, oh my gosh, we're breaking the fourth wall. I love it. Reload after only a few shots. My ratio of times I've died while reloading at 80% versus times I've died because my clip ran out is easily 10-1, but I just can't stop. I still fall into this problem.
This
all the
gets
time.
me all the time in games specifically where when you reload, it throws away the whole clip. Because what ends up happening there is I put a new one in, not thinking, oh yeah, I just wasted 20 rounds. And then I look at my ammo, I'm like, oh man, I have all this ammo that I just wasted. I could have just not reloaded.
Well, you got, that LMG, and you got like 100 bullets in, in the reload box, and then all of a sudden you're reloading after 20 clips, and then you got to wait like 15 seconds for you to just put another one in. Yeah,
That
maybe
too,
not the
yeah.
smartest gameplay that we still do since we were a kid. And then always check behind the waterfalls. I don't need every waterfall to have a secret cave, but if you're going to include waterfalls I can get up in, then it should be the law that at least one of them holds a secret cave. And I think that's one of the beauties in the new Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Anybody that's played the opening to that video game will know, yes, you can go behind that waterfall and you will see something there. I love that. I felt like that was for the old school gamers. And then you get comments that say, if a game tells me to travel in one direction, I will immediately turn around and go the other way if possible. Shh. Don't tell Spielberg. He might make it a huge plot point in a movie.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of like, you play a game, a side scroller like Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, okay, you're supposed to go right. Let's go left real quick, see if there's anything back there. Sometimes there was.
But those are what make those so beautiful. We've covered this video game in Pause or Repeat, The Plucky Squire. I thought they really did a good job, capturing that nostalgia of like wanting to go back to discover something new, to only be able to progress the storyline moving forward, because you have to find the words to be able to build the sentence to excel into the next phase of the storyline. So yeah, I find that to be very, very true. And then, can I swim in the water or will it kill me? And yep, I'd argue this is one of the most important ones to check, because it gives you the information on whether or not you should check the water for secrets throughout the game. That's a very fair point. If you're not doing that very early in the game, and then you're playing like almost halfway through the game, you're like, holy crap, dude, how much water was there in the
I just did this in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black when I played through that for the Pause or Repeat. I was like, oh, there's water. I can run on it. Oh, I can swim. Oh, let's go check. And lo and behold, there was a secret back there.
Yep. And then anytime it says something like press A to start, I immediately press any button except A, just to be oppositional and to see if other buttons work. Same. When I see the press any button, I immediately use buttons I think won't work. So I think a lot of very creative, very fun, answers to this thread. So HenricK, what's one thing you still do in video games that you've been doing since you were a wee lad? Like randomly pressing buttons to see what happens, or spending way too much time searching for that secret area that doesn't exist?
Well, call me a murderer, if you will. What a wild way to start that, right? But
okay, pause. Okay, go. Now you may continue.
but like if it's an RPG, like Skyrim, or even like we'll say The Legend of Zelda, if I can kill some of the NPCs, I will try to do that first.
So since you were a kid, you're playing games like Skyrim, you're playing Fallout, whatever, Oblivion. You're telling me that you've never, I envision you as always wanting to take the charge as being the good guy. You're telling me you've always taken the role as the bad man?
No. Okay. Well, when I played Skyrim the first time, I walked into Whiterun, and then who goes up to my face? None other than the Nazim. The guy's like, oh, have you ever been to the Cloud District? Oh, of course not. You're going to talk like that to me in a game where I can kill you? Okay, you're dead.
And then you find out real quickly some NPCs just don't die and then just magically get resurrected 3 billion times.
You can throw them off a cliff,
out of my village.
Still survive somehow. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you know what I felt like I've been doing since I was a kid? Saving every 2 seconds like I'm about to lose my progress at any moment. Does anybody do that?
I understand that.
Or just hoard every resource I find, and then even though I'm moving at the speed of a snail, I just praying to the Lord of the video game gods that, there is the next saving point very, very close to me. Or what about just jumping right into the settings and just cranking up that camera sensitivity? You know, that's something I've always done. Later on, that was the subtitles, as you can clearly see. I'm a four-eyed man here, but it was the camera sensitivity. You know, because who needs precision when you can spin around like you're in an action movie? And then don't even get me started when a game tells me to stay on the path, just like how that comment was suggesting. It's just like that even with race car games. Like when I'm in the driver's seat and I'm taking a hard turn off the course to see what kind of chaos I can cause, and if there's a shortcut to nowhere, I'm taking full advantage of it.
Hey,
I want to see what I'm missing.
There's some great shortcuts you miss out if you don't do stuff like that.
And I gotta say that all started because of the game Roadhogs. If anybody remembers playing that game back on the PlayStation 1 era, you're on those motorcycles. It was one of those very first games where you could deviate off the track and it wouldn't be like, a Mario Kart where, that picks you up and then places you back on the track. You know what I mean? It was like, I could just keep going. This is so freaking cool. And then we all got introduced to GTA, and it was like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But then again, we want to know from you, the gamers, what is something that you've done since you were a kid playing video games that has never changed the way you approach a new game? Let us know what's good. But we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Without your support, the show would not be possible, and we're always active on YouTube, Meta, and Twitch. So make sure you guys are following us there. This QR code will send you directly to my YouTube channel. So like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
Yeah, and that QR code, that one goes to my YouTube channel. So give that a scan and go watch some awesome content that's waiting for you, because there's all sorts of genres. Just go take a look and drop a comment.
Yeah, we can't thank you, the gamers, enough. We always love a lively conversation, always in the mix. And so when you guys are joining along in the conversation, that is so freaking groovy. We love you, gamers. But for now, enjoy the rest of the week, and we will see you soon, fam. Peace.
See ya.